Hey everyone, got a pretty special unboxing video here to present to all y'all. And oh yeah, that right there, that's a map and some other goodies. But I think we're gonna need to clear off the table and well, put it all on the table just to really give it what it deserves. So I'll take a couple hours probably to get this all ready and presentable for y'all. But oh yeah, got a real special video today. All right, everyone, got it all unpacked, and well, I'll admit I got a little carried away. It's yeah, it's been a couple hours because, well, I got kind of excited and decided I wanted to set up the whole map. So, of course, this took me the better part of hours. It's actually the next day that I'm filming this because it took so long that, well, it was time to go to sleep. That's how long it took me. So, got it all set up. I think it's looking really nice. The colors of this map are absolutely vibrant. Somehow they even made the colors pop just a little bit more than in Global War 36. I got a few pieces to paint up. As you can see, those are going to be, well, colonial markers. So got a little bit of painting to do for the British. A little bit of painting to finish for the Japanese, but I mean, hey, like I said, got a little carried away here. So this is the map. The Russian flags, I like that. I like those flags right now. Probably change them to the other ones, the red, white, blue, and yellow square with the eagle. I'll probably change them to those eventually, but another time. And then of course, there's where the action's happening. Sorry for the shadow. I don't have another mode of light, so that's just kind of what it has to be for this time. But yeah, looks really good. Gonna be really fun when I can play this. Hopefully having a couple of guys over soon to do this. That'll be pretty fun. So, well, let's make this isn't a board overview video. This is an unboxing video. So let's kind of get back to the unboxing. Yeah, all right, well, let's start with this. I think actually these Chinese cards that I got sent, let's get a little better place for this. It might have been a little wrong. So Chinese warlord cards, real cool. Maybe you've seen some YouTubers do their stuff, but I don't know. Oopsies, sorry about that. It's on unstable ground. But so these look like they're Chinese cards, but go a little farther. And that looks to me like Russian Civil War cards. So I don't know, maybe I got a bad deck or something, but maybe it's the right thing. If anyone knows, let me know. But yeah, otherwise it looks like it might be, yeah, that guy doesn't look like he belongs in China. Oh well, kind of cool. Here's the tech chart, if you haven't seen it, pretty fancy. It looks like some cool things here is that there's pictures kind of more along when you like develop something. So when you develop tank, well, there's the icon of a tank. Similarly, everyone starts with 2 technologies, so it's kind of nice. Little different than Global War 36. That's cool. Here's the battle charts, I suppose. The battle boards, attack and defense, helps visualize a little bit about what forces you're up against. Those look pretty good. This thing is gonna be really fun to go through. The random events table. It's just a big old book, and all of them have some of the random events in them. So spring 1917 West and spring 1917 East, and then all those. So pages and pages of that. That'll add a really fun element to the game. I always kind of like adding a little bit of randomness just to keep the players on their toes, maybe shake up strategies and see if there's a strategy somebody's employing that only works in a vacuum. Well, this will really throw that for a spin. Next up is this really nice victory chart. I like how they separate it all out like this. So there's 4 possible points for the Austrians to grab if they get so many odd territories, and so you can just boom, four rounders right there to fill out. So nice one there. Let's see, another cool addition that I've been really kind of keeping my eyes on is the diplomacy of this game. So comes with this pack a little tiny roundels, kind of fun. But you put these on the board, and that's how you do diplomacy. I always like the idea of diplomacy, kind of like I said earlier with the random events, throwing a little bit of wrench into certain plans. I mean, hey, what if the Allies got Romania in World War II? That'd be different. What if Germany aligned Poland rather than invaded Poland? I mean, all kind of fun stuff. And so you can do similar things here where, what if the Central Powers want Romania and not for it to fall into the hands of the Entente? It's kind of fun stuff, and you can have history play out as you will, which is kind of what we do every time we play this game. And then there's this additional kind of yeah, a lot of words on this one, a lot of stuff going on here, but pretty much just tells you how the diplomacy chart works and whatnot, as well as their starting levels. So Afghanistan, level 1 Britain, pretty fancy. And of course, how could you forget the IPP tracker, conveniently with the turn order placed here, and of course a little blurb about what happens each year. For example, start the Mexican Revolution and the Italo-Turkish War. I mean, hey, that just saves you some referencing back in the rulebook every now and again. And the mandatory offensive markers, really dangerous stuff, consequential stuff, of course. But that's not all. Had to take advantage of HBG's Black Friday sale a little bit, and so, I mean, that's the Global War game. Well, the Global War games were excluded from the sale, so I got the prequel. There's the Mexican Revolution in there, and then behind that looks like the Balkan War. Gonna be pretty fun there. And then since everything was on sale, thought I'd get a few extra things. There's the roundels that come with the prequel. Put those aside. Got some dice, can never have too many dice. And then I got a bunch of torpedo boat destroyers because, I mean, as I'm kind of starting to put this game all together, I'm realizing that torpedo boat destroyers are the things that I'm missing the most, for sure. So got some Japanese ones here, some German ones here, and these might be Russian. They're either Russian or French, I forget, probably French. And then some American militia because, well, I actually didn't even have any. Currently I'm pulling from the World War II game, even though the colors aren't that different. But so yeah, this has been probably the biggest unboxing I'll do for a while. Real fancy game. Looking forward to playing it. And hey, if anybody knows about these about these Chinese cards, let me know. I want to know if these are the right ones. But yeah, that's it for me. I know I'll be enjoying this game hopefully soon. And well, I suppose right now this is Elite Golden signing off. I'll catch you all in the next one. Later. Hey everyone, figured I'd tack on a little gameplay review onto the unboxing video since I was fortunate enough to get actually 2 games under my belt. Both ended quite early, but we'll get into that in just a moment. So let's check out the board state here at the very end as I kind of give you my thoughts on this game. Broad overview, really enjoyed it. It's a fantastic change of pace to Global War 36 while still keeping everyone's favorite things. So at the end of this game, it is the spring of 1916, and well, it's the top of the turn order. Actually, sorry, it's Germany's gone, but after the German turn, the Central Powers have thrown in the towel. So no one's got their mandatory offensives yet for this turn, but everyone did complete it for last turn. There we go. And so this is the current state of affairs. China's picked up 1 extra buck, making it 4. Italy is at 8. The Russians and Ottomans are tied at 10. The Japanese are at 12, so I think you might know what that means if you know about this game. Spoiler alert, they joined the Central Powers. The Austrians are at 13, French at 22, Americans at 24. They're really getting up there and very quick. And then the Germans and the British just kind of duking it out for the top spot, but currently the Germans winning by 1, British at 38, Germans at 39. So yeah, not much to say about that, besides America's doing quite well over here. I'll kind of explain to you how they got up there so fast, considering it's the top of 1916, and heck, they might even be in the war by the end of the year. So the British Empire didn't align anybody, just got their auto aligns. The Belgians are real close. The Greeks are probably gonna hang out at about there because I think they auto align in a turn or two. French didn't get anybody either, but looking hard at Romania, the Romanians will also auto-align at some point here. Other than that, it just kind of left people be. The Austro-Hungarians got the Bulgarians, but kind of like everybody else, pretty standard auto-alignment. The Germans had had some really good luck, but no crazy luck. They didn't align anybody, but oh boy, do they have people in their camp. I think the Norwegians were kind of what they were hoping for, but didn't quite get it. And then next in line, what they were really hoping for was the Dutch. That would have helped immensely, but they just could never quite hammer that down. The Allies always pulled it back. Same with the Spanish, but they just recently got those. Spain was a pretty big battleground for everybody. And the technology. Gotta say, not a huge fan of technology in this game. It seems to do a lot, but at the same time, not a lot. But perhaps that's a bit biased of a look at it because there's not a lot of tech on the board here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total completed technologies, and that's one per country, leaving out the Austrians and the French. So not too good, and as expected, wartime economy was the fan favorite. Everyone going for that one. A lot of these single technologies over here, that was somebody trying, that was what the game started with. I started with the 1914 date for the second game, which is where the board date is currently. So starting the 1914 date as opposed to the 1912 date gives you some automatic technologies. And of course, everyone just took it right there on stage 2 of wartime economy. Over here, this is just a house rule of +1 to the technology roll every time you fail, and so people failed a lot, as you probably can tell. So let's get into talking about the actual game a little bit. The Americans are to the point where they can begin moving in the Pacific at 20 IPPs. If the Japanese are Central Powers aligned, the Americans can declare war on the Japanese, and the Japanese alone, but they can declare war and begin moving over. So they picked up their ships with pretty much what they started the game with. They just put a transport down last round, but they've been lend-leasing a little bit and kind of holding on to their money as best they could. And now they're starting to go for it. So they'll probably stop at the Mariana Islands next and then kind of keep moving on. But I think they've pretty much got it wrapped up. The Japanese have 1 dreadnought. The Americans also have 1 dreadnought. The Japanese have 2 pre-dreadnoughts. The Americans have 1. And then that kind of is the entire distribution of power. The Japanese have 2 transports, 1 sub, 1 cruiser, and 1 torpedo boat destroyer, so a lot of 1 stuff. The Americans have 3 torpedo boat destroyers, 2 cruisers, a sub, and a coastal sub. So I mean, when I was looking at the board state in the Pacific here, I just kind of thought that it's pretty much over for the Japanese. They did their best and they did well, but just not quite enough to defeat the Americans, considering they start the game with quite a few things. And well, the Japanese are the reason that the Americans are in the war at all. Just the Japanese aligning to the Central Powers alone gives the Americans +$4, and that's a pretty early roll. Then, so that the Japanese just don't sit on their hands the whole game, they declare war on a few people to take IPCs off them, collect more for themselves, but then the Americans go up and oh geez, it's just a snowball. I think as the Central Powers, I would rather not have the Japanese. Granted, it keeps the German Empire alive quite well out here. Actually, there was a random event that gave the Germans some extra units, so that was kind of nice for them over here. The Germans have been kept alive over here by the Japanese not joining the Allies, but at the end of the day, it's just, it's a little too much. I'm not sure I'd take the trade of the 1 victory point that lies over here and the $2, $3 for the Germans, just to get the Americans in the war likely an entire year beforehand, and then have the Japanese kind of get crushed. So I don't know, just my thought, but at the same time, it did keep China at bay. The Chinese were ready to roll. They walked into Yunnan, took it free of charge. Well, not free of charge, but they took it quite handily. But then had to start walking back because they were weary that if the Japanese invaded, it would be kind of over for them. So really stymied them there. But I mean, hey, that's just kind of the kind of game that's been going on here. So I'd be very curious to see what happens in other games, perhaps with maybe more and or less aggressive moves being made. The Japanese really haven't done anything yet. They tried to take Hong Kong here, but failed. And so, it was just kind of over for them. Here's, of course, the Netherlands that if the Netherlands would have flipped to the Central Powers, that would have been a fantastic Asia for them to control. If it went to the Allies, it would have been a great money booster for them. But either way, didn't go to anyone yet, and it probably would this turn, but actually maybe not, who knows. India, kind of the same, had a random event that threw down a German guy over there. So he's got Bengal now. This is where it kind of starts falling apart, and perhaps I can more easily explain why I think the game is over. And that is because in Africa and the Middle East, the Allies are showing up in full force. So the Germans have lost, was it Togoland? Yeah, Togoland. In Cameroon, they've really built up. That's just been kind of a money pit for them. Like, sure, they'll keep the dollar, but they spend $2 every turn trying to defend it. Same with East Africa. They lost South Africa because, well, what's the point in keeping a territory that isn't worth anything while you have territories to defend that are worth something? But the British have shown up in force, and they're going to try to do their best to take it away. And I think they will be able to take it away, considering they've got some transports over here that will be able to make it, kind of push comes to shove sort of deal. And then over here in the Middle East, like I was beginning to talk about, it's kind of the beginning of the end for the Ottomans. They're really showing up in full force to try to defend themselves. They did get defense in depth. So those are trench lines there in both Syria and northern Iraq. But at the end of the day, they've lost a lot of money. And what's really supplementing themselves is their success in the Russian Empire. So don't worry about those two flags. I like the ones on the right, but all my buddies who came over like the ones on the left a little more. And so I started printing them as fast as I can on my 3D printer, but I didn't quite have enough time to print all of them. So I just printed what I could. And so, yeah, don't worry about that. It's not two countries. But yeah, so they took Transcaucasia, which was great for them. And now they're starting to push towards Kazakhstan. But the Russians don't look like they're doing so good. If you remember, they're at $10 right now, which is tied for the spot with the Ottomans. Both of them are making 10. But the reason that the game is over is because the Germans are throwing the towel. Firstly, down here in the south, those Austrians are heavily outnumbered by what's in Kyiv, what's in eastern Ukraine, southern Ukraine, and they think that their only option is to retreat or have that army get crushed. So they'll be retreating this turn back into Bohemia, giving the Russians back their dollar and the territory. So we'll get into victory points in a little bit, but just know that when we do look at the victory points, I'll kind of explain where the victory points would have gone if the game would have gone on longer. Up here in the north, so like I said, the Germans just took their turn. They took a lot of stuff, a lot of artillery, all their infantry. I think they ended up leaving their cavalry just because they needed something to defend. And they went up into northern Russia. There are still 2 guys there. That's because there was a huge stack on both sides, a lot of hits thrown around, but the Germans took it worse than the Russians. And at this point, the Russians are feeling that they could begin to push the Germans back out just because the Germans don't have almost anything to come back with. It's really tough for the Central Powers, I'm kind of realizing, because they have a little more money than the Allies. If you were to take like Germany versus France, Austria versus Russia, and the Ottomans versus, well,
whatever the British can muster down here. But in the totality, they get swamped. Any additional support coming from anywhere else, and it's just over. Like the Germans, they can't take, or like they might be able to take the French and the Russians at the same time, considering they have a lot of money and the Russians lost a lot of money. But it's just, those aren't the only countries they have to worry about. And so it's just kind of a snowball effect for them. Moscow's got quite a few guys, or well, he's got 2 guys that can't be touched by anybody else, so they can move out. It's St. Petersburg that's got a lot of guys that would begin to move out and start the reconquest of all the territories that they've lost. And so that's kind of Germany over here. Austria is doing well enough, but oh boy, that Serbian mountain infantry has held on this game. I tell you what, there's been 3 assaults into Serbia from the Austrians, and on this last one, it was just the mountain infantry. He made it through the battle and inflicted a hit while he was at it. So the Austrians, they're not feeling too great about it. But now that they've aligned Bulgaria this turn, they'll probably get it. So it's just a matter of time until they really have the Balkans under control. But then soon enough, Romania and Greece will join the fight, and then it just complicates the situation. So yeah, we've talked about the Middle East. Here's Austria. Italy went to the Allies quite handily. They rolled an 11. I think the Central Powers had a not too great of a modifier. I think it was 2 or 3 plus to their side. So like I think a 1 through 5 would have done it, but rolled an 11. I don't think any amount of modifiers would have given them that country. So the Italians are really building up. You got the Germans there to help. Actually, those Germans were there before the roll was done, because the Germans wanted to take a little pressure off of the Austrians and let them do some more attacks down against Serbia and against Russia. And so they just real quick from Bavaria slipped in a few guys so that the Austrians didn't have to worry about it, get that bonus to the roll, and well, didn't pan out for them. They're still there because there was an idea for a moment. Have the Germans head down south, wipe out the Italians with the Austrians. But unfortunately for the random event, after Germany had moved all their infantry, they got a random event that said they attack better against France for this turn and this turn only. So they kind of missed that opportunity. But hey, I'm still kind of learning this game. Got to kind of look ahead at what the random events could be. And now the main show, Western. The Western Front. There have been some terrible, terrible attacks by both sides into each other. Sometimes just to fulfill the mandatory offensive. Sometimes because they think they might have something. The attrition strikes are all right. I think I've seen 5 hits total from the attrition strike this entire game over here on the Western Front, which isn't great. But I mean, it's not supposed to be great. You're supposed to use the artillery in a little more aggressive fashion. But yeah, Britain has gotten a blimp over here, so they're going to start bombing the Germans, because the Germans have 3 airships, or well, Zeppelins as they are for the Germans, and it's been bombing their factories. Unfortunately, not really getting a lot of damage done, but oh well. Those Belgians looking pretty great, pretty strong. The Netherlands, well, hopefully they go to somebody, but it was what it was. And then in Western Germany, I actually have a little story about Western Germany right there. So in my earlier game, so this game I played by myself. The guys that I was playing with took us 2 days, and we were like, yep, all right, I think we know who's going to win this game, and so we called it. And then after they left, I reset up the board because I was like, hey, that was fun. Now I kind of want to try out a few things to see if they go a little differently. And well, they didn't go much differently, but in the last game in Western Germany, the German player left 1 guy there. And the British and American player noticed that, and they were kind of like devising this plan like, oh boy, you could satisfy your mandatory offensive and take Western Germany at the same time if you just load up all 3 of your transports and rock and roll. He did. and the British player was actually kind of sealed the game at that point. That forms a trench line with all 6 of those guys in there because they didn't bring any Marines in, and the German didn't get any return hits on, so they had a trench line right there, which meant that you can only last 1 round of combat unless you break it. And the next turn was winter, so it didn't even matter. It was only going to last 1 turn anyway. And yeah, he held Western Germany for an entire year, and the Germans were they were throwing the towel. It was well, that's a fantastic territory to hold for you. It's right next to Berlin. I can't take it back from you without committing a bunch of troops. And if I do commit the bunch of troops to unseat you from there, then the French are just going to waltz into Bavaria, and well, we kind of come into the same situation. Would you rather than Bavaria and threaten Austria and Berlin, or Western Germany and threaten Berlin and kind of other IPC holding territories? And so it was just too much, and that was that. So it was a fantastic move. I'll definitely be watching that when I play. Honestly, any side. Got to make sure that the Germans defend it, and if they don't, then if I'm the Allied powers, or well, the Triple Entente in this game, I'd like to watch it a little better, make sure that I can take it if I want it. And yeah, I think that summarizes this game pretty well, and well, a little bit in the last game. I did the 1912 start date in the last one. That added a lot to the game. Granted, it added a lot of time, but I think it added a lot with the random events. The random events make this game so enjoyable. I don't think I can speak highly enough of the random events, just because of how dynamic they make the game. It's really nice to break up the monotony of a game where you've got standard openers, reliable buys, reliable technologies, and all that stuff. This just kind of throws a wrench in the strategy, like when the Germans just took Bengal free of charge. It's like, well, all right, someone's got to deal with that. Otherwise, they'll just have it. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on that. Let's look at the victory chart. No capitals were taken, so that's all right. No worries there. But all right, so let's get into the German technology, or sorry, not technology, the German victory points real quick. So over here, global reach, they might keep that for a little while. That's their Pacific one. The one where if they have a major port in the Pacific, then they get a victory point. They'll probably keep that for a while because I think they've got 1, maybe 2, depending on what was in New Guinea. I forget. Or Kaiser Wilhelm Land, I think is actually what they call it. But they've definitely got the one in, oh boy, what was that? Let's go over and take a look, because I'm kind of curious. I've forgotten. German Shandong, right there, up there. There's a major port over there, and so they were going to hold that for a little while, and the Japanese were going to help them hold it. That's for dang sure. So they get that point. Probably wouldn't lose it either. They're not going to get any French or British home territory. They're not going to get Middle Africa, and they're no way going to beat the British in terms of navy because, oh, totally forgot about it. On turn 1, the Germans thought they might do something fancy, break out and destroy the British Navy early. It did not work. They limped away with a couple of dreadnoughts, and the British, they actually didn't even have to cut into their cruisers. So pretty poor rolling on the Germans' end. Kind of sealed this one away, and definitely gave the British this one. So, buffer and client states, kind of tough to read, but if they control Belgium, they don't. Warsaw, they do, but maybe not for long. West Poland, they do, but even less. Lithuania and Latvia, they do, and that will go probably within 2 turns. And then Western Ukraine, but that's held by Austria, and that's not going to last either. On to the Austrian ones. Well, I suppose just finish talking about this. So yeah, 2 German victory points are likely going to be gone within a year, and definitely within 2 years by the time the war is ending. The Austrian rally the empire, hold all the starting territories at the end of the game. They might keep that, maybe. They're getting more. They've got like a fair bit of coastline, so that kind of sucks for them. And then expand the empire. Score 1 for each of the following: Romania, Thessaly, Macedonia, Northern Italy, Serbia, Western Ukraine. They're going to lose Western Ukraine this turn, but they might get Serbia this turn. And that would be good. It'll keep them at an extra point, but they don't have too high hopes of taking much else, unfortunately. the Ottomans doing quite well. They're yeah, they're doing pretty well. Score 1 for each of the following: Bulgaria, Thessaly, Macedonia, Southern Persia, Northern Persia, Armenia, Transcaucasia, Eastern Egypt, and Cyprus, or any territory that's worth $1 in the path to Constantinople. Actually, you know what? I didn't even read that last part. Yeah, they've actually got all 4 of these here. They've got all 4 points, and the only way they could really lose those 4 points is if the Russians go all in on them, take them out, or if they lose Constantinople. And it'll take a while. I think it'll probably happen, but it'll take a while. So, moving on to the Allies. Looking a little lackluster, but in this game, the Allies actually have a lot of victory points that are kind of behind conquest and fighting the other side rather than just the status quo, which is kind of what I say. Here, I can just show you. I've got the board up right here. In Global War 36, so African colonialism and the sun never sets is pretty much just hold on to your territories and build a rail line through them. Super easy. A world power is France just is alive. Have a big fleet, research technology, own what you start the game with, and have a lot of money. So the Allies in World War II have a lot of keep the status quo type things. These ones have a lot of get up and go and go do something. Destroy the German Navy, they did, and they will continue to keep the boot on there. Mediterranean dominance, I mean, that's pretty easy. Just have a dreadnought in the Mediterranean, which they do. Nobody else starts with a dreadnought in the Med, so that was pretty easy. Pacific security, they're working on sailing one to the Pacific, so that'll be pretty easy as well. In possession of at least 2 German colonies, they're super close. When the British get German East Africa, they'll have it. And then oil, southern Iraq or Syria and southern Persia. So I'm not quite sure how to read this one, but either way that I'm reading it, they have it. Either it says southern Iraq or Syria and southern Persia. They have southern Iraq, so they're good. They satisfy one of those ors. Or it is have southern Iraq or Syria and have southern Persia with one of those 2. And in that case, again, they have southern Iraq and southern Persia. So they've got the point. France, they don't quite have Bavaria yet. France isn't the one who controls anything in the Middle East, but they do have all starting territories and colonies, and they do have a German or Ottoman territory that they didn't start with, which was Togoland. So 2 points for them. Russia does hold quite a few of their territories, and they're only going to start taking them back. For the 3 here, they have Crimea, Kiev, Primorsky Krai, and Archangel, which is 4, so they can only collect 3. And then expand the empire. I don't think you can count Serbia, so they don't have that one. And America's not even in the war yet, so they're not scoring any points. And so as this currently stands, so give 1 more to the Ottomans. The Ottomans, the Central Powers have 13. The Allies have 12. These are kind of the height of the Central Powers, in my opinion, in this game. They're only going to start losing points, and the Allies are only going to start gaining points. So, granted, they're winning right now, but they're not going to be winning for long. And it's entirely possible that the British could kind of find the gall to begin trying to beat down the Germans in their home country with the French at the same time. So yeah, that's just excuse me. Those are just my thoughts on the game. Really, really fun. Holds true to the Global War name, and is a fantastic one to play with Global War 36. I think it's still probably got a little bit of gameplay. Let's see, what was I gonna say? I just think the Central Powers have a tough time. So I think it might be good to work on a little bit more of the gameplay testing for this to give the Central Powers just a little bit more of an edge in the beginning, because they've run out of steam. And hey, it's my first game. Maybe I'm mistaken in all of this, and oh boy, maybe I'm playing them wrong. But in any event, super fun game. It was really nice to do the World War I stuff and break out the World War I pieces. But yeah, I'll stop rambling. This has been my review of Global War 1914, and it will definitely not be the last time I play it. Very fun game. Check out HBG if you want to get the game yourself. And, well, everyone, I'll see you in the next video. Later.